Welcome to And That's the Game podcast. Presented by Pro Batter Sports. And That's the Game is hosted by Wayne Mazzoni. Today's special guest is Nick Barese.
Hello and welcome to this episode of And That's the Game podcast presented by Pro Batter Sports. I'm your host, Wayne Mazzoni. My background is 30 years as a college baseball coach, and I'm currently a college baseball recruiting advisor. If you want to learn more about what I currently do, you could visit collegebaseballadvisor.com. On today's episode, we had Nick Barese. Nick is the head coach of UMass Lowell. Nick was a really great interview and fantastic for a guy that I knew well, but learned such detail about his background. A two-sport athlete, played football and baseball at Saint Anselm, which is unheard of in these days, as a quarterback and a left-handed pitcher. And then after college, went on to coach at Merrimack as an assistant, and then got the head coaching job there. He was there till 2021, and then went to work as the assistant coach at UMass Lowell, and is currently the head coach there. And we talked about many things in terms of his background and the recruiting process and the characteristics of players that he's coached over, players that have really excelled over the years. What are the common things that those players do to succeed on the field and then after their college experience? So I hope you really enjoy this episode. I'd like to remind you that this podcast is made possible through the great support of Pro Batter Sports, maker of the most advanced pitching machines for baseball, softball, and cricket. Like a pilot training in a flight simulator, hitters can practice like they play, getting the equivalent of live at-bats against the batting practice pitcher who never gets tired and can throw any pitch with pinpoint accuracy. Check out their line of amazingly affordable systems at probatter.com and take your swing to the next level. In addition, don't miss the new book, Practice Like You Play, authored by Adam Battersby, the president of Pro Batter Sports, with a chapter written by yours truly that's available today on Amazon.com. Without further ado, our conversation with Nick Barese. So, Nick, I'm psyched to be here with you, and I appreciate you being here on your spring break trip, because when I reached out to you, first of all, I was like, oh my God, in season, it's tough to get people. And then you're like on our spring break trip, and I said to you, don't you want to be hitting a golf ball or doing something? You're like, no, I'd be thrilled to talk baseball. And then not to mention you had travel day today and moved to a new hotel. So you had a lot of running around to get on this podcast. I appreciate you being here.
No, I appreciate it. And you know how this goes. It's there's not, we're in Farmville. We're about to play Longwood. We just came from Richmond. So we're kind of traversing across Virginia right now. And there's not a lot around the hotel. So it worked out perfect. So I'm happy to do it.
Great. So one thing I didn't plan on, talking about this part, but something I did, and I don't know, we'll find out more about you on this podcast, but I used to use the All Trails app, and All Trails is basically like a hiking app. But what it's great for is you're in some of these places, you don't know where you are. It looks like it's all a bunch of shopping malls and chain stores. And then maybe like a mile and a half away, you could find some great trail where you could walk and like clear your head. I don't know if you've ever done anything like that, especially when you're in a place you don't know.
Yeah, and so before I hopped on here, I was like, let me go take a look at the gym and see what the setup is in the hotel, and the gym's closed. So I'm like, okay, well, I gotta figure something out to get the blood flowing a little bit. So yeah, we might be trying to find some trails and some nice places to walk or take a very slow jog at some point the next few days.
And of course, we also know from being, baseball kind of lifers, like it's hit and miss with gyms, right? You could get a pretty awesome gym, at least enough for like a coach, maybe not a team lift, but then you have some gyms with like a broken down treadmill and like some, pulley system that's a disaster,
We were just when we were in Richmond, we were at a hotel and they had up to 75 pound dumbbells, and my guys were like in heaven. They're like, we never get this. This is pretty incredible. But yeah, then we come here and it's closed for renovation. So yeah, it's hit or miss. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, there were some things I used to do over the years when we would travel to someone's place for like the whole weekend. I would call ahead and try to get the strength coach to let us in. And then that would be great, except then the guys would come back to our own gym and go, we don't have all the stuff that these guys had, whatever, So again, appreciate you being here. So what I kind of always do there's no real format, but I want to talk about your background kind of growing up and then your playing career, and then, a lot of stuff about coaching. I mean, I don't know you tremendously well. The only thing I really knew is that when you were coaching at Merrimack, you ran a heck of an operation, and those guys love playing for you. So I knew you were the real deal in that regard. But so just talk more from a sports standpoint, like when you were a kid, junior high, high school, what sports were a part of your life at that stage?
Yeah. So, I mean, I grew up in Braintree, Massachusetts, where huge baseball town. It was, we had some legends in there. Donnie Fredericks, who just recently passed away. He was kind of like the baseball legend from that town. And his son, Kirk Fredericks, is pretty well known around the Northeast for baseball too. And I was really lucky. I grew up playing for some pretty incredible coaches, especially at the high school level. And I mean, I'm 38 and, summer ball now is such a different animal, but like me and all my friends, we all played Legion. And everything was town baseball. So I was fortunate. I was really lucky. And then I did football as well at Braintree High School. And then I did basketball my first 2 years, and it was a very distant third sport for me. I was not very good. So
Right.
after my sophomore year, I said, all right, we'll hang up the sneakers and focus on baseball and football. And then I had an opportunity to actually play both in college. So I went to Saint Anselm College. I played football and baseball there. I was a quarterback in football, pitcher in baseball. And my brother went to the same college too. He played football there. So that was how the connection was really made. And as I was going through the recruiting process, I had some schools that were baseball only. I had some schools that were football only, and was lucky enough that St. A's gave me the opportunity to do both, and fell in love with playing both, and fell in love with the college. And then, I mean, like going through this world of college athletics, it's such a small, really fraternal community. And so the way that I got into coaching,
let me stop you there.
Yeah.
I want to get to that. I wanted to unpack a couple of things in there because I didn't know you played football, so I definitely want to get into that. But what is your and this is such a hard topic, and we don't want to anger anyone, but I love what you said. Like, you played with your high school buddies in high school for baseball, then you played Legion. It was town ball. I think almost everyone wishes it would get back to that, because you seem to care more playing with your buddies in your same group, and it's gone too far the other way with travel ball. And I understand it. It's guys that kind of like me and you that didn't go in the college coaching route, and they just said, hey, let's start a team and do baseball. And it's helped in a lot of ways, but it's also insane to sort of go to Georgia, get 2 games rained out, be in a hotel. It's crazy, right? So I guess I'm wondering how far after your time did Legion sort of there's still some programs, but it's now so travel heavy, right?
It's crazy. And like you said, it's gone so far the other direction. And it's like, so we have a kid on our team right now, Brian Foley. I love him. He's the best. He's a right-handed pitcher for us. Great personality, super funny kid. He's from Milton, who was our rival at Braintree.
Right.
And so, like, I always kind of try to bust his chops a little bit. And like this Milton Braintree rivalry. And for me, like, that was huge in high school and Legion and all this stuff. And it's just such a different world now. He kind of probably looks at me and he's like, what are you talking about? Like, it's not
right.
Not the
Because
same.
he probably played in the summer with kids from the other town.
Yeah.
And their buddies, because it's the travel program.
Yeah. And for me, it was, like Legion baseball, it was like, okay, we'd all meet at Braintree High at 4:00. We'd pile into cars and we'd carpool to, Canton or Milton or Weymouth or whatever, to all these different towns, and you'd drive together, and they were your best friends. And I think it's different now I'm sure they still have those relationships, but now it's like, okay, you're driving like you said, Georgia, and staying in a hotel. And I think for me, like, I really noticed it probably a couple years after I got out of college, because in 2009, I coached Legion, and real quickly it was like, okay, I think we're starting to go towards the travel program. But like, when I was growing up, the South Shore Baseball Club Sea Dogs were the only AAU team in a 50-mile radius, and now there's 3 teams in any town you go to.
Totally.
So I wish it would. I wish it would get back to that town baseball type of environment and landscape. And I think it's hard. Like for us, it was, again, I played for Kirk Fredericks, who super competitive guy, and taught me more about baseball than, just about anyone else. And it meant a lot to go to the state tournament and to play these, like, we played Sandwich every year in the state tournament. And And now it's, you go to Diamond Nation or you go to these tournaments and it's like, okay, you pool play and you play 2 games and it's like, is there a champion? Does anyone actually win? Like, what's the competitive environment to it? So it's totally different.
I had a day coaching that hit home incredibly well. I don't know, 5 years ago. It was like early June and some travel programs had already started. So I watched this couple of travel games where like I actually saw kids score a run and no one from the dugout like acknowledged that the run was scored. And then I drove over to watch Staples High School play West Hill in a high school playoff game. And I was there to kind of recruit, but I got so lost in the intensity of the game. Crowds on both sides. It was like, holy cow, you could just see the difference in it, just a drive from one field to the other. Back to your 2-sport thing. Did you want to play both, or that's just sort of the way it worked out? Or would you do you remember that time? Hey, I might just go play baseball here or football there, or was like a requirement to play both? How did that shake out?
So I knew early on that baseball was definitely going to be the sport I got more interest in. And football was, it was a lot of D3 schools and some of the higher academic schools, because back then I actually focused on school and cared a lot. And then as I was going through the process, when football schools would approach me, it became more of like, okay, I guess this is a real thing. Like, this is a possibility. And then it became like, yeah, I want to do both. It was really hard, right? Like I loved baseball and I really loved football too, but football was a later in life kind of thing for me. Like I didn't really play football until high school, and baseball was, from the time I was 4 years old. It was that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like I was like the guy that was always in the facility or in the cages taking swings, whereas football was kind of just like I do it because it's fun and I enjoy it. And but then once I started going through the recruiting process and had interest in both sports, it was pretty clear to me early on, like I want to do both. And it was like, I'll never forget this. Like Bryant baseball was really interested in me, and the coach at the time was, back then the recruiting rules were so different. Like you could make.
Was it Sjogren back then?
It was Sjogren, and so his pitching coach, Coach Crott, was the guy that was calling me.
Yes, remember Crott? That's right.
Like, it was like you get one phone call per week for recruit. So Sunday night, like right before dinner time, my phone would ring and you talk to the coach. And I was really into Bryant baseball, but I wasn't good enough to play football there.
Right.
I ended up making the decision based on like, I want to try to play both. And that's why I ended up not going to Bryant and going to St. A's. But it was definitely a deciding factor for me in wanting to do both for sure.
So my college career, I went to Gettysburg and I played, my intention was to play both sports for 4 years. I played football my first year, got the crap beat out of me, and also didn't see that if I stuck it out, I would have played. Like I was low on the poll. There's 120 guys. I was like I was the scout team guy. So I got beat up, and then I didn't play baseball that year. And then I wound up playing baseball for my sophomore, junior, senior, and not football again. You did both for 4 years?
Yeah, well, actually 5, because I got hurt. So I had shoulder surgery my sophomore year, so I did a 5th year. And I ended up doing both.
I mean, and forget just the managing of all that stuff. How long did it take you to establish that you were good? Like, I'm assuming as a freshman, you didn't start in both sports.
No. So like freshman year, and obviously football came first. I ended up starting the last 2 games of the season, and I did terrible. It was it was a program where they were looking for a quarterback, and I was the same thing as you. Like I was on scout team, and my brother was a starting middle linebacker. So like for me, that was great because I'm like, okay, I get to go up against my brother every single week.
Right.
And I think I just did well enough in the weeks leading up to the end of the season, and we were at a contention for a conference playoff spot or anything like that. So they were like, "Hey, we're gonna give you a shot and get me in there for the last 2 games." And then baseball was similar. Baseball was, I was low man on the totem pole, and I played for JP Pine, another great baseball guy.
He is the last guest on the podcast. Yeah.
I mean, I love Coach Pine.
Yeah.
And I mean, you talk about like a player's coach that really cares about his guys, and there's no one better.
And he's hysterical.
He is. He's the funniest.
Yeah.
He's the funniest guy I've ever met.
I know he is. Yeah.
So I was like low man on the totem pole. We're getting blown out against Tampa in our spring break trip my freshman year, and I finally get a chance to come in, and I do okay, and then kind of build up some appearances through the bullpen, and then finally, probably halfway through the year, got a spot start. And then that's unfortunately when I did get hurt, but I had made my way into the rotation there at the very middle end part of my freshman year.
Do you look back and say, I could have developed more in either if you had done either, or do you say that's absolutely the way I wanted it to go? I got to play 2 sports in college, and now that's what I wanted to do with looking back. I
mean, especially baseball. Like I was a left-handed pitcher. I'm sure I could have developed more if I focused on just baseball, but I wouldn't change it in a second. I love doing both. Each sport is so unique in what they bring from a maturity and development standpoint. Like football is a different animal, and
totally
like physically what you go through, and then baseball, the same thing. Like baseball is a grind in a much different way. You're playing 50 games, long bus rides, and it's just different. Each sport was so unique, but I wouldn't change a thing.
Do you think in the modern 2025 world, it's the same animal if someone tried to do that at a St. A's or anywhere, or has it become much harder?
I mean, if anything, honestly, I think, and I don't want to sound like the older guy who, back in my day, things were different.
Right.
It's easier, I think, because like when I played, you were doing double sessions every other day, and now it's for football. And now right. I don't know what the rules are, but I know it's a little bit more lenient.
Right.
And like baseball and all the CARA and compliance rules and all the stuff is so much different now. And I never even thought about it as a player. And I don't think our guys do either, to their credit. Like I think our guys, we see it all the time. Like we wrap up practice and then guys are staying in the cage for an hour or two. Like they want to do it.
Right.
Well, excuse me. I just think, it was different, 10, 15 years ago in terms of what you could do. And like I was going, for football, it was like, okay, you have your 6 a.m. film with the head coach for quarterbacks, and then you're going to class, and then you're getting a lift in, and then you're doing all this stuff. And then you go to practice, and then you have film as a team after. And it was like 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. You were straight through. And I think it's probably a little different now. But I think, again, like these kids, like they want to do it. They want those hours in.
I mean, and I think we'll get to this now, but I'm curious if you pursued not coaching, but say a business career. I would imagine coming out of college, having been a 2-sport 4-year athlete, you're as marketable as they come, showing that kind of dedication and grit while you're in college.
I would think so. If lucky for me, I never had to make that choice.
Right.
I got an opportunity to coach super early on and jumped on it. And I truly mean this, and it's not to sound cliche or like it's the greatest job on the planet. Like I pinch myself every day that this is what I get to do for a living.
Well, we'll get to that, because now that I'm out of coaching, I have a couple, and it is the greatest job. It's not necessarily the greatest schedule.
No.
It's certainly the greatest job. But so let's go back to that part. When you were done with your playing, how did that first job come about? And did you know that that's what you wanted to do?
So my sophomore year of college at St. A's, we had an assistant coach who I'm sure Jim Martin, who's now the associate coach at Stony Brook.
Stony Brook, right. Yeah.
And I was hurt the entire year, my sophomore year. And I was just in the dugout next to him the entire year. Like I was, charting or doing something to, help in any way I can. Developed this great relationship with Jimmy, and right away knew this guy was a baseball savant, and just could tell how smart he was. And I learned so much from him as a player sitting there. And then fast forward, 4 years later, I'm out of college, getting ready to get into the real world, and I'm like, okay, I know I want to coach for sure. I had studied and graduated with a degree in history, and I'm like, okay, like I love baseball, but I'll coach whatever sport comes first. If I have an opportunity in football, I'll coach football, baseball. And so I got a job at Dedham Middle School, working in special education, and I was coaching on their football team with a guy I had played with at St. A's, was the head coach. So I was doing the high school thing. And I'll never forget, I was in class one day and Jimmy Martin called me. We had kept in touch. He was at Southern Connecticut at the time.
Right.
He gets the job at Merrimack and he goes, "Do you want to be my pitching coach?" And it was one of those things, like, I didn't even ask, what does it pay? I was like, yep, I'm in. So I went and worked with him. And then, like, going through the assistant coach gauntlet, you kind of piece together whatever part-time work you can find to make it work. And I lived at home with mom and dad and did that for a few years. And that's kind of how I made my bones and got my feet wet in the coaching world. But it was through a relationship that I had developed as a player with Jimmy 4 years prior.
So a couple things there. If, out of curiosity, what if that was a football call from someone coaching and offered you a offensive assistant football position? Do you think you would have taken that?
100%, same thing. And so again, like, it's everything's so cyclical. Like, my brother is a defensive coordinator and assistant head coach at Bryant University now.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool, man.
So like, for me, it's like, we always, every time we get together, every time we talk, it's like, I'm jealous of him. And I think he's probably a little jealous of me because I'm a head coach. But it's like, I wonder what it would have been like if I went back and did football. And I still miss football and love football. But yeah, I think if the football call came, it would have been the complete same thing. I would have said, yep, 100% I'm in. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's start the journey for football.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because I think we're very similar in that. I don't look back and say woulda, coulda, shoulda, but one path that is intriguing to me is the path of, like, the prep school, where you're like, you teach history and you coach football and you coach baseball and you can get your fill of both. I think that's because I'm with you on football. I love baseball, but football brings such a different thing, and both sports kind of fill your bucket and everything that you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. Football is just like, even still, like, I get excited, and I was so lucky. Like, I grew up with the Patriots and Tom Brady right in his prime. And it's like Sundays for me were an event. It was like a holiday. And like you said, I wouldn't change anything. I love that I'm coaching baseball. I love it. And it's the same kind of feeling I get every day. Like Wednesday morning when I wake up to play Longwood, like, I'm going to get that giddy feeling where it's super exciting. But football, it's unique. It's different in what it brings. And I think it's, I think my maturation process as a person saw the most development through football, for sure.
And we've had a lot of guys on here that had that same, football background, and they talk how much that did shape them, even if baseball is what they do for a living, or, coaching or playing. I just had a point that I was just going to make, and I just forgot what I was going to say. Elliot might have to, I'll try to get back on it, Elliot, to save you an edit point there. But why don't we do this, since I screwed that up? Let's take a little break right here with Nick Barese. When we come back, we'll talk about your coaching career after you got started at Merrimack.
Introducing ProBatter, the future of baseball training. With the PX3, you can practice like you play. There is a better way to train your athletes. With an easy-to-use touchscreen controller, you can program any pitch, any speed, at any location. The ProBatter simulator is designed to replicate real game, real-world pitching. Better practice, better play. Hit any spot inside or outside the strike zone. The PX3 features reliable mechanics and an optional automatic ball feeder system. Get the most from practice. In addition to baseball, the PX3 is perfect for softball. With the PX3, no more relying on practice pitchers or basic pitching machines. Better practice, better play. ProBatter. Train like it's game day. Step up to the plate with confidence.
Hello, this is Wayne Mazzoni, host of And That's the Game podcast. I hope you're enjoying listening and watching the podcast as much as I am making it. It's really been enjoyable to connect with all these great people, great baseball people. The purpose of this message is to let you know about College Baseball Advisors, a company that I founded a couple years back after 30 years as a college baseball coach. I basically guide players and families through the recruiting process. If you're interested in learning more, please go to College Baseball Advisor, merrimack.com and learn more, or book a call where we basically will meet and talk about your recruiting process. I'll lay out a 3-step plan for you to move forward. If after that call you think I'm someone that could help you in this process, we can discuss that. If not, you just want to take that information and use it to go forward, that's great as well. So hope to see you down the road. Thank you. All right, we're back with Nick Barese after I screwed up my coaching point or my question I want to ask, which I'm sure I'll remember as we go on here. But so what year was it that Jimmy Martin called you when you started at Merrimack?
2011.
2011. And how long did you stay there with him?
So I was an assistant coach with him through the 2014 season, and then he left to take the job, the associate head coach job at URI, and I was given the opportunity to be the interim coach at Merrimack through the fall, and did a good enough job that they made me the head coach in the fall of 2014, and was the head coach at Merrimack from 2014 through 2021.
Okay, so a lot to talk about there, which is early in your career, you're running this program. Was it D2 at that point?
Yeah, we were D2 until 2020.
Okay. Regardless, you're running a program. What are you, like 5 years old at that point? How old were you at that stage?
At that point, I was 26 or 27.
Okay.
I think.
Did you feel ready? And as you look back on it, were you ready, or was there no way to be like, what do you remember about getting that opportunity at that stage?
I mean, I definitely wasn't ready. I don't think anyone at that point could be, but I was as ready as I could have been because of Jim. The standards that he held the program to, and then me to as an assistant coach, were so high. And, like going through it at times, it's like, I want to roll my eyes and be like, Jimmy, like, get off my back. But like looking back on it and now being in the moment or the position I'm in, I'm just so grateful for it. And it was like, he showed me, like he literally held my hand and or not literally, but held my hand and how to recruit and how to go to a game and what you do when you go to a game and recruit and how to build scouting reports, and how he showed me. And then he would start taking me through all the administrative side of things. Like this isn't just about coaching baseball. It's about, the hotels and the team building events that you want to do and the fundraising and all that stuff. So he really brought me along and taught me so much. And, when I had that opportunity at 26 years old, I felt prepared. And felt like I was ready. And again, I wasn't. And you go through your lumps and your bumps and bruises, the first couple of years. And I still, at 38 years old, I'm still adapting and adjusting every single year. So, but he did a great job of preparing me as much as I think anyone could have.
No, I mean, that's a great point, because I think it's somewhat of a lack of the coaching profession at all things, that there isn't any more formal like training. Like you just get on the job and of course you're learning every day, and then you can go to conventions and you could self-study, but it would be cool if there was like some onboarding, and Jimmy Martin was that guy for you. But imagine if Jimmy was a mess and, you had to, and then you'd be unprepared, and you would have learned eventually, but it's great to have a guy like him. And by the way, I remembered what I wanted to say before, which is we have a lot in common. Football, baseball guys, you're lefty, I'm lefty. Italian, we got beards. The only difference is I'm a Jets fan, dude. So all of your success that you've had with those Patriots, to you, Sunday's an event, and to me, Sunday is misery. It's just been misery for years and years and years. So I do appreciate how it must have been, and not to mention the Sox have been pretty darn good.
Yeah,
in the 2000s and beyond, and the Mets are okay. Even people that are Mets fans always say to me like, well, it's tough being a Mets fan. I go, no. Be a Jets fan. That's what, tough is really about. But
it is tough. And I was right in the wheelhouse of Boston sports. Like my freshman year of college was the Patriots won their third Super Bowl. The Red Sox won for the first time in 86 years. So like I was at the perfect age to kind of experience all that stuff. But yeah, being a Jets fan, that's I do not envy you.
I don't envy me either. No. So if again with Merrimack, when I was coaching at Sacred Heart, we'd play each other. You can observe a lot by just watching how other teams go about their business and coaches and whatnot. I mean, you ran a heck of a program there. Do you have a Nick Barese coaching philosophy of the way you want things done, it formal or not? What would you say is your coaching style? Because it seemed from the outside looking in pretty darn good.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. I think for me, it's I just really take a lot of pride in our job as coaches is to develop, these 18-year-old kids that walk through your door. And I just want them to be successful as human beings by the time they leave at 21, 22. And, I've always said, like, I feel like if I can develop you as a person, there's a really good chance that I'm going to develop you as a baseball player too. They go hand in hand. So, for me, I think the barometer of success is what the guys do when they leave. Are they employed? Do they have great careers that they're happy about? Are they successful? And selfishly, I want to make an impact on them. I want it to be a relationship that extends beyond, the 4 years they play for me. And we always, I want to say Jimmy used to say this, and he's right. It's like one of those things, or it was Kenny Herring. Now that I think about it, when I was with Kenny at Lowell, he was always big on like, you made an impact on these guys by how many weddings you get invited to, once they're done. And it's been really cool to start getting those invitations from players that I've coached and those relationships. And like, I have a group of 3 guys that, I'm super close with that played for me. They were in like 2018, 2019, that era. And, we get dinner every year and we get together a couple times every year. And that's really what it's about for me. As far as, how I run my program, I think like you hear a lot of places, I just want accountability and a super high standard. Like, we do the right things where I want to be really good people, really good students. We're ambassadors for the university or the college. And I just always want my players representing us in a positive way. And that extends to on the field. Like, my expectation is we execute and we're successful on the field. Like, winning is not a negotiable. It's, I want to win and I want to be really great people while we do it.
Yeah, that's extremely well said. And I guess a couple of things to unpack there, because where people are going to watch this and try to learn some stuff from a recruiting standpoint. What are some things, whether it's character or the style of play, when you're recruiting a kid, evaluating them, and offering what kind of things do you particularly look for guys for the program?
Yeah, I think it's how they, I think it's easy for us as a coach, right? If we go to a showcase or a tournament or an event and we see a kid play and it's, hey, that kid's super talented. The harder question